Do you find simplifying complicated? Worry not. By the end of this video, I'm sure you will find simplifying ratios, simple. Welcome to Noodle Doodle Maths. I'm Ben, and today we're going to look into how we can simplify ratios of all shapes and sizes, and we'll build up a toolkit so that we can tackle any question. I've also got a treat for you at the end, where I'll show you a great calculator tip that can help you save time and marks in exams, so stick around for that. If you don't yet know what a ratio is, or you want to recap, then you might find our Ratio Basics video useful. I'll put a link in the description below. Right, let's get cracking with some simplifying. My guess is that you can probably already simplify a ratio like this. But what if you were faced with a ratio like this? Don't worry, we're going to build up our toolkit starting with this easy one first. This is an example of a whole number ratio. It's the simplest kind. Remember that ratios can be written as fractions too. To simplify these whole number ratios, we just want to look for common factors. With this example, the common factor is 2. So dividing both sides of the ratio, or the top and bottom of the fraction, by 2 leads to a simplified ratio of 2 to 1. So let's start building up our toolkit to achieve a simplified ratio. If we have whole numbers, we just need to reduce using common factors. Let's make things a little bit more complicated. What if we had decimals? Well, we know what to do if we have whole numbers, so why not try to convert these decimals to whole numbers and then follow our usual approach? To do this, we just multiply both sides by 10 or 100 or 1000, just depends on how many decimal places we have. In this case, we have 2 decimal places in 0.48 and 1 decimal place in 1.6. So we go with the highest of those two, which is 2, and so therefore we multiply both sides by 100. This now gives us a ratio of 48 to 160, which is a whole number ratio. And we know what to do with whole number ratios. Look for the common factors. 48 and 160 both divide by 16. So our simplified ratio is 3 to 10. Let's add this method to our toolkit. So for decimals, our first step is to multiply by 10, 100 or whatever to get them into whole number format. Given this is our toolkit, we could call these our multipliers. Once we're in whole number format, we do the usual from there. We've said before that ratios can be written as fractions, but what if we have a ratio of fractions, like this? 4/8 to 3/5. The approach here is similar to that for decimals. We want to convert the ratio to a whole number ratio format, because we know how to simplify from there. So to get a whole number on both sides, we need to get rid of the denominators on both sides. By the way, you might spot an easy simplification of either or both of the fractions to start with, so feel free to do that first if you like. It's not essential, but it may make the next part a little bit easier. To get rid of the first denominator, we need to multiply both sides of the ratio by that denominator. So let's multiply both sides by 8. On this side, we'll just have 8 times 4 over 8, which is just 4. On the right side, we'll have 8 times 3 over 5, which is 24 over 5. Now, to get rid of this second denominator, we multiply both sides by 5. 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 24 over 5 is just 24. So here we are with a whole number ratio. Fantastic! We know what to do there. Look for the common factors. A common factor of 4 gives us a simplified ratio of 5 to 6. If we look back, do you see how we took 2 steps to get rid of the denominators? One for the left and one for the right. When we look at the results of 5 times 4 and 8 times 3, we can see that what we're actually doing here is cross-multiplying to get rid of both denominators at once. So you can get rid of both denominators by multiplying the top of the left fraction by the bottom of the right fraction, and then multiply the top of the right fraction by the bottom of the left fraction. This gives you the answer a little bit quicker than the two-step version, but don't worry if you prefer to do it in 2 steps. Let's add this method to our toolkit. So for fractions, we need to get rid of the denominators. And if we have 2 fractions, we can be a bit speedier by cross-multiplying if we want. We'll be left with whole number format, and again, we know what to do from there. There could be a slight variant like this, and that is mixed fractions, where we have a combination of a whole number and a proper fraction. Here, all we have to do to start with is get rid of the whole number part by converting them into improper fractions. So for 3 1/4, we want to convert the whole number part into quarters. If you don't already know how to do this, any number can be written as itself over 1. So 3 is the same as 3 over 1. If we want this to be shown as quarters, we need to do the same thing to the top and the bottom. So to get from 1 to 4, we multiply by 4. Also doing this to the top means we get 3 times 4, which is 12 quarters. So 3 is equivalent to 12 over 4. But remember, we had 3 plus 1/4 here, so we now have 13 quarters in total. Using the same method for the right-hand side, converting the whole number 2 to sixths is 12 sixths, plus the 1/6 on its own gives us 13 sixths in total. Cool! We now have a ratio of 2 fractions, and we know what to do with those, don't we? Cross-multiply. That gives us 13 times 6 on the left, and 4 times 13 on the right, which is 78 on the left and 52 on the right, which is a whole number ratio. And we know what to do with those, don't we? Common factors. Now, don't worry if you can't spot the highest common factor straight away. We have actually just seen it, but let's pretend we haven't. I don't immediately know this for 78 and 52, but because they both end in an even number, I know they divide by 2. So I'll try that first. That gives me 39 and 26. Now, it's not obvious that this simplifies any further. They don't both divide by the easy factors of 2, 3, 5 or 10, so I might just stop there. However, there is actually a common factor, 13. At the end of this video, I'll show you a calculator tip that will really help you out in these situations, so don't miss that. Actually, I used to have a calculator with a cool camouflage pattern on it, but I can't find it now. So, using the final common factor of 13, this gives us 3 to 2. Again, let's add this method to our toolkit. So for mixed fractions, we just need to convert them into unmixed fractions. And again, we do the usual from there. The final little nasty you might see in ratio simplification questions is mixed units. So this one is 3 kilometers to 60 meters. We have mixed units. So part of simplifying is getting the units to match. And you can do this at any point. Often, but not always, it's a good idea to do this as early as possible. So let's do that now. We could convert the meters to kilometers, but that would give us 0.06 kilometers on the right side. So we would now have a decimal, which isn't a problem because we have our toolkit and it still gives us the right answer. However, if you convert the bigger unit to the smaller unit, so in this case kilometers to meters, we usually get to whole numbers quicker. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometer, so 3 kilometers becomes 3,000 meters. We now have a whole number ratio of 3,000 to 60, so let's get those common factors. I can see they both immediately divide by 10, so now we're at 300 to 6. And these both divide by 3, so we've got 100 to 2. And these are both even, so they divide by 2 to give 50 to 1. And I don't think we can simplify further than that. So this is the final method to add to our toolkit when we have mixed units. Convert them to common units and we'll be left with one of our other types of ratio. I hope you found that all useful and it has made you realise that complicated ratios can easily be simplified by breaking it down into nice easy steps so that you can move forward towards the answer confidently. Speaking of complicated ratios, remember that one from the beginning? I want you to have a go at tackling it now by using our toolkit, which I will leave on the screen. Take your time and just be nice and careful on each step. When you've reached your final answer or got stuck, let us know your answer or problem in the comments and then continue watching. So pause the video now. Did you have fun doing that? And did you reach an answer? Well done for having a go. This is a really nasty ratio with mixed units, decimals, mixed fractions, but that shouldn't be a problem for us. Let's step through it using our toolkit. First, I would look to match the units by converting the 3 3/4 metres to centimetres. But this means I'd need to multiply a mixed fraction by 100, which doesn't seem that quick to me. So instead, I think I'll convert the mixed fraction to a single fraction first. For 3 3/4, we have 3 whole units, which is the same as 12 quarters. This means that the mixed fraction of 3 3/4 becomes 15 quarters as a single fraction. Now we've got a denominator of 4, so let's get rid of that by multiplying both sides by 4. That leaves 15 on the left hand side, and on the right we've got 12.5 times 4, which is 50. So actually, by getting rid of the denominator on the left, we've also managed to get rid of the decimal on the right. A cheeky bonus. Okay, I think I'll sort the units now. Going from the larger unit to the smaller unit, I'll convert from metres to centimetres. There are 100 centimetres in a metre, so 15 metres becomes 1500 centimetres. Now we have matching units and a whole number ratio, so we're just looking for common factors now. I can immediately divide both sides by 10 to get 150 to 5, and then I can divide both sides by 5 to get 30 to 1, which doesn't simplify any further. If you got the same answer, congratulations, that was a toughie. And if you didn't, hopefully you can now see where you've gone wrong. So have another go. If you're still stuck, just drop a question into the comments. One final piece on simplification. Sometimes a question will ask you to show a ratio in 1 to n format, or an n to 1 format. Our result of 30 to 1 is in n to 1 format. It just means that the right hand side is 1, and the other side is whatever number keeps the ratio consistent. For a 1 to n ratio, the left hand side needs to be 1. This means that n doesn't always have to be a whole number. For instance, if 2 cats eat 3 tins of food in total, what is the ratio of cats to tins in 1 to n format? Well, we have a cat to tin ratio of 2 to 3. We need to make the left hand side equal to 1. So all we have to do is divide both sides by the left side, which is 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, as expected, and 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So our 1 to n answer would be 1 to 1.5, or 1.5. If the question had asked for the n to 1 ratio, we need to make the right hand side equal to 1. So we divide both sides by the right hand side of 3. The right hand side becomes 1, and the left side becomes 2 over 3, which is 2/3 of a cat. These 1 to n or n to 1 questions are sometimes called unit ratios, because one side of the ratio is 1. so look out for those types of question too. Well, I do hope this video has simplified simplification for you. If you found it useful, I'd be really grateful for a very simple like and subscribe, or both. They really are appreciated. So go on, quickly do that now. Oh, and in return, I promise to give you a great calculator tip for simplification. Remember we had a fraction earlier that was difficult to tell if it could be simplified. It was 39 over 26. Well, did you know that your calculator can help you here with its fraction button? It should look something like this. If I press my fraction button, I can enter numbers in fraction format. Let's put 39 over 26 in. Now let's see what happens when I simply press equals. Well, there you go. It simplified it for us to 3 over 2. We can also use the mixed fraction button. It's this icon here, and it's usually the same physical button as the main fraction button, but you'll probably have to press Shift first to access it. Now we can type a mixed fraction, moving between the different parts with our arrow keys. Let's try 3 3/4 and press equals. There we go. Simplifies to 15 over 4, like our earlier question. And here's how to get your answer in the format you want. Let's start with a fraction of 20 over 3 and press equals. Oh, there's no change. But that's because it can't be simplified further. However, we can still change the format of our answer by using the Format button and choosing the one we want. We can choose from all of these. Let's try mixed fraction. Ace! It's now showing as 6 2/3. And what's that as a decimal? Well, let's use our Format button again. And if we select decimal, we get 6.6 recurring. Very useful. And finally, what if we start with a decimal? Well, if it's a recognised terminating decimal, then pressing equals will give us the value in fraction format. So that's a brilliant way that your calculator can be used to check your work and save you time. But always remember the disclaimer.
Disclaimer. The provided tip is not intended to be a substitute for understanding how to simplify and convert fractions yourself. Please ensure you are comfortable doing this on your own before relying on your calculator. As grown-ups always say, you're only teaching yourself, and sometimes they can actually be right.
That's it for now. Have fun simplifying with your toolkit and using your super calculator tips. Please do remember to like and subscribe and check out our other videos, including the ratios playlist. All the best, folks. Until next time, I'll see thee.